The cold came early that winter. Heavy snow covered the mountains before December even started. Peter, a wildlife photographer, had rented a small cabin on Ridge Road to work on his new project. The cabin was the last one on the road. No neighbors for miles, only pine trees, cliffs, and endless white snow. He liked the silence, but tonight it felt a little too quiet. Peter went outside in the evening to take photos. While adjusting his camera, he noticed something strange near the tree line. A backpack. It was half buried in snow as if someone had dropped it recently. He picked it up and brushed off the ice. Inside were a map, a water bottle, and a name tag. Hiker, Lucas Hale. Peter recognized the name. A hiker had gone missing 2 days ago. The search teams had stopped because of the blizzard. Peter looked around. There were no footprints leading to the backpack. No tracks leading away either. The snow was untouched. He felt a cold wave rush through his chest. How could a backpack be here with no footprints? He took it back to the cabin, planning to hand it over in the morning. But the backpack was only the beginning. Something else was looking for it too. By midnight, the storm got stronger. The wind pushed against the cabin walls. Snow hit the windows like sand. Peter warmed himself near the heater and tried to relax. But the feeling of being watched kept growing. At 1 a.m., the power went out. He grabbed a flashlight and checked the cabin. Everything looked normal. Then someone knocked on the door. 3 slow knocks. Peter froze. Nobody should be out here. Not in a blizzard. Not at this hour. He opened the door a little, keeping the chain lock on. A man stood outside in the snow. His face was pale, his coat torn, and his eyes dull like he hadn't slept for days. "Can I come inside?" the man said. His voice was sharp but shaky. "I'm freezing." Peter stared at him. "Who are you?" The man lifted a hand. Snowflakes melted on his skin instantly. "Lucas," he whispered. "You found my bag. I need it back." Peter felt unsettled. Something was wrong, but he couldn't tell what. "Come in," Peter said finally. "Sit near the heater." Lucas stepped in slowly. Snow dripped off his clothes, but none formed a puddle on the floor. Peter found that odd, but said nothing. Then Lucas said something that chilled Peter's spine. "Someone followed me here." Peter frowned. "Who?" Lucas looked at the window. "The one who took me." Peter tried to question him, but Lucas spoke in broken sentences. "It found me on the ridge. It moves without sound. It looks like a man, but isn't." Peter felt a shiver run up his arms. Before he could ask more, Lucas stood abruptly. His voice changed, becoming deeper. "It's here." Peter looked outside. The trees were shaking. Not from wind, from movement. Something moved between them, tall and thin, almost blending with the darkness. It didn't walk. It glided. Lucas backed against the wall. "It wants what I took, my warmth, my breath, everything." Peter tried to calm him. "We'll call for help." "No," Lucas whispered. "It listens to voices. It follows them." Peter grabbed a lantern and checked the window again. The trees stopped moving. The forest went still, silent. Then Peter noticed something on the snow outside. A long black shape crawling toward the cabin. It had no legs, no arms, just a stretched body dragging itself forward. Peter stepped back. Lucas whispered, "Don't let it in." The thing reached the porch. The cabin walls creaked. Then the whisper came. Not from outside. From inside Peter's head. "Give him to me." Lucas screamed and grabbed the door. "Don't open it. It copies the voices of the dead." But the door handle began turning slowly. Not by Lucas. Not by Peter. By something outside. Peter pushed a heavy table against the door. Lucas broke down near the wall, breathing heavily. Peter finally asked, "No, what happened to you out there?" Lucas looked up, eyes hollow. "I died." Peter blinked. "What?" "I died in the snow. It took my warmth, my body. I woke up in the dark, buried under ice. I crawled out because it wanted me alive enough to follow it." Peter felt sick. "So you aren't fully alive?" Lucas shook his head. "That thing drains heat life. It uses people to track others." Peter backed away, realizing the awful truth. Lucas wasn't asking for help. He was leading the creature. Lucas looked at Peter with sad eyes. "I'm sorry. I didn't want to come, but it always finds the last warm place." The creature pressed harder on the door. Wood cracked. Snow blew in through the gaps. Peter grabbed his camera bag. Inside was a flare gun, part of emergency gear. He took it out and loaded a flare. "What does it fear?" Peter asked. Lucas pointed to the heater. "Fire anything hot?" The creature screamed outside, sensing the heat. Lucas fell weak. Pieces of frost formed on his face. "It's draining me again. You have to run, now." The door burst open. A tall shape of black ice entered. Its head was smooth like frozen stone. No eyes, no mouth, just a surface that reflected the firelight. Peter fired the flare. The cabin lit up bright red. The creature shrieked, a sound like metal cracking. But it wasn't enough. It lunged. Peter ran outside into the storm. Snow hit like needles. The forest was pitch black. He ran toward the ridge, the flare gun still warm in his hand. The creature followed, gliding fast over the snow. Peter reached an old lookout tower. He rushed inside and climbed the stairs. The tower shook from the wind. He loaded the last flare. The creature entered the stairs. Cold filled the air. Peter could barely breathe. Lucas's voice echoed from the forest. "Don't let it touch you." The creature climbed closer. Peter pointed the flare down the stairs. "You want warmth?" he said. "Come get it." The creature leaped upward. Peter fired. The flare exploded in its chest. The creature screamed and exploded into pieces of black, ice that melted instantly into steam. The tower creaked. The heat cracked the wood. The structure began collapsing. Peter jumped out into the deep snow, landing hard. He crawled away as the tower fell behind him. When he looked back, the creature was gone. Only melted ice remained. By morning, rescue teams found Peter near the ridge, exhausted but alive. They never found Lucas. Only his backpack, half buried in fresh snow, with no footprints around it. Peter never returned to Ridge Road, but every winter, hikers report seeing something tall gliding through the trees, and sometimes they hear a voice in the snow, whispering, "I'm cold." Every winter, Frostwood Lake froze so hard that people said the ice could hold a whole village. Riley had visited the lake since childhood. He came here to clear his mind, take photographs, and enjoy peace. But this year felt different. The cold was sharper. The sky stayed gray all day. Even the birds had not returned. On his first evening at the lake, Riley set up a small camp near the frozen shoreline. He cooked a simple meal, lit a fire, and watched the smoke rise into the quiet night. An old man from the nearby village walked past his camp. His coat was torn and snow covered his shoulders. He stared at the fire and said, "Be careful. If you see a campfire burning on the ice, do not go near it." Riley smiled politely. "Why?" The man whispered, "Because no one lights it." Riley thought it was just a story to scare tourists. But later that night, while taking photos of the lake, he saw something unusual far out on the ice. A small orange glow. A campfire, burning in the middle of the frozen lake. No footprints around it. No person nearby, just a fire standing alone in the dark. The old man's warning echoed in his mind. Riley lowered his camera. What kind of fire burns out there? He soon found out. Riley woke at dawn. Snow fell lightly and the lake was covered in white fog. He packed his bag and walked toward the shore, hoping to capture morning shots. That's when he saw him. A boy standing on the ice, thin, pale, wearing a torn winter coat. Riley guessed he was maybe 10 years old. The boy wasn't shivering, even though the cold was intense. Riley walked toward him. "Hey kid, where are your parents?" The boy didn't answer. He didn't move at all. Riley stepped onto the ice slowly. "Are you okay?" Still no response. As Riley got closer, the boy finally spoke. "Are you going to the fire?" Riley stopped. "What fire?" The boy lifted his arm and pointed to the center of the lake. There, through the fog, the same mysterious campfire burned again, bright, steady, and impossible. Riley felt a chill that was not from the air. "Who's lighting that?" he asked. The boy's voice cracked. "He wants people to come." "Who?" The boy turned to face Riley fully. His skin looked too white, his lips slightly blue, and his eyes empty like he hadn't blinked in hours. "The man in the fire," the boy whispered. Riley stepped back. Something felt wrong. The ice under Riley's boots cracked, a small warning. The boy didn't even flinch. Then the boy asked a question that made Riley's blood turn cold. "Can you help me find my body?" Before Riley could respond, the boy vanished. Not walked away, not ran, vanished, like mist blown by wind. Riley stood alone on the ice, terrified. The fire still burned in the distance. waiting. Riley rushed back to land, shaking. He reached his tent and grabbed his phone to call the local ranger. No signal, not even a single bar. He walked toward the village, hoping to find someone. The path was quiet and the snow was falling heavier now. Halfway there, he saw an old wooden sign. "Do not cross the lake at night." He didn't understand. Why only at night? The danger was the same. But a symbol carved into the sign caught his eye, a figure kneeling near a fire with long, stretched fingers behind it. Riley felt his stomach drop. The villagers knew something. He returned to his camp and packed his things quickly. But as he folded his tent, the air around him suddenly warmed. A strange orange glow fell on the snow. The fire on the lake. Closer now. Much closer. He turned around. The campfire had moved. It stood only 30 meters from the shore, right in front of his campsite. The flames cracked loudly even though no wood fed them. They twisted in unnatural shapes, rising straight up like a thin pillar. Riley stepped back. A voice came from the fire. "Cold, aren't you?" Riley froze. Another whisper. "Come warm yourself." Just a moment. Shadows inside the flames shifted. A shape formed. A tall man sitting by the fire hunched silent, watching him. Riley ran, but the fire moved again, appearing ahead of him, blocking his path. Its flames bent toward him as if reaching. Something inside them crawled. Something alive. Riley turned toward the village and sprinted through the woods. Behind him, the fire whispered, "You won't leave." They never do. Riley reached the village after dark. The streets were empty, windows closed, no smoke from chimneys. The silence felt unnatural. He knocked on the nearest door. An old woman opened it just a little. Her face was pale with fear. "You saw it?" she asked. Riley nodded. "The fire? What is it?" She hesitated, then opened the door fully and pulled him inside. Every window was covered with blankets. Candles lit the room. A group of villagers sat quietly, all looking scared. The old woman spoke. Long ago, a man named Arlo lived by the lake. He loved fire more than anything, said it was alive. During a brutal winter, he set fires across the ice to guide lost travelers. Riley listened carefully. But one night, she continued, he lit a fire too close to a weak spot. The ice collapsed. He fell through and dragged 3 children with him. Riley felt cold. "They say he did not drown," the woman said. "They say the fire kept him alive below the ice. It became part of him. Now he hunts for warmth, for life. He lights fires to lure people closer." Riley remembered the boy. "What about the children?" The woman's voice cracked. "Their spirits wander the lake. They try to warn travelers." Riley felt his heart sink. He had spoken to one. A loud knock hit the door. Everyone froze. The smell of smoke drifted under the door. The old woman whispered, "He found you." The flames outside lit the windows bright orange. Riley stepped back as the door handle turned slowly. The door burst open with a blast of heat. Snow from outside vaporized instantly. The fire stood in the doorway, burning as tall as a person. And inside the flames, the shape of Arlo. His skin was blackened like coal. His fingers long and sharp. His eyes burned like 2 small lanterns. "Come," he said. "You've already warmed me." Riley pushed a table against the door, then grabbed a metal pot from the fireplace. It was glowing hot. He swung it at Arlo. The fire shrieked. The heat didn't hurt him, the metal did. Riley realized something. Arlo was not a spirit of flame. He was trapped in flame, bound to it. Metal weakened him. Riley ran out the back door. Arlo followed, the fire crawling across the snow behind him. Riley sprinted to the frozen lake, heading for the fishing cabins where tools were stored. Arlo's voice echoed across the ice. "You belong to the cold now. Don't run." Riley reached a shed and grabbed a long iron rod. Arlo rose from the flames, his arms stretching unnaturally toward Riley. Riley planted his feet on the ice. "Come get me." Arlo charged. Riley drove the iron rod straight into the center of the fire. A scream exploded across the lake. The flames turned blue. The air grew thick. The ice cracked under Riley's boots. Arlo's body twisted, shrinking into smoke and sparks. The fire collapsed inward, burning itself out. And then silence. The lake went dark again. Riley fell to his knees, shaking with exhaustion. As he caught his breath, the boy appeared again at the edge of the ice. No smile, no anger, just relief. "Thank you," he whispered. "Now we can sleep." He faded into snow like dust. The night grew cold again. By morning, the villagers celebrated Riley. The curse had ended. But one thing remained. On the center of the lake where the fire had died, the ice melted into a perfect circle. It never refroze, even in the deepest winter. People say that's where Arlo sank, where he still waits, and sometimes on silent nights, a spark glows under the ice, just bright enough to call someone closer. Hannah never liked winter travel, but she had no choice. Her younger brother Oliver lived in Silver Pine, a small mountain town famous for heavy snow and long, cold nights. He had been calling her for days, asking her to visit. His voice sounded stressed, unlike his usual cheerful tone. The last bus ran at 8 p.m. Only 6 passengers sat inside. Outside, snow covered the road completely. Halfway up the mountain, the bus stopped near a forest crossing. A man in a thick coat stepped in. He didn't speak. He didn't even look at anyone. He walked to the back and sat alone. Hannah noticed something strange when he passed her. His coat was covered in snow but wasn't melting. Not even a drop of water. The bus continued uphill, but a sudden storm forced the driver to stop. "We will wait here until visibility improves," he announced. Everyone complained except the man in the back. He just stared at the window, motionless. After 10 minutes, the driver stepped outside to check the road. A minute passed. 2 minutes. 3. He didn't return. Hannah felt uneasy. She wiped the fogged window and looked out. She saw footprints in the snow, the driver's boots leading away from the bus. But beside them was another set of footprints, large, deep, almost like claws, and they weren't walking away. They were walking toward the bus. Hannah's heart raced. She turned toward the passengers, but no one else had noticed. The man in the back sat like a statue. Hannah whispered to the woman sitting beside her, "The driver hasn't come back." The woman leaned forward to look outside. "Maybe he slipped?" Hannah shook her head. "There are footprints. Something else is out there." The man in the back finally turned his head. Very slowly. His eyes looked empty, drained of emotion. "You don't want to see what's following him," he said quietly. His voice made everyone freeze. "What do you mean?" Hannah asked. The man looked at the floor. "It hears voices. If you talk too loud, it comes closer." The passengers exchanged fearful glances. "I saw it once," he added. "It walks like a person but isn't one." Hannah felt the temperature in the bus drop. Her breath came out as fog. The storm outside howled louder, as if something was moving through it. A sudden bang hit the side of the bus. Everyone jumped. The man in the back whispered, "Don't look." But Hannah couldn't stop herself. She lifted the curtain and peeked. She saw a shape moving through the snow. Tall, too tall, and its arms were unusually long, reaching almost to its knees. It stopped beside the bus, turned its head, and pressed a hand against the window. The hand had fingers, but each finger ended in a sharp point. Like frozen bone, Hannah covered her mouth to stop a scream. The hand slid down the glass slowly. Then the creature stepped into the storm and disappeared. The man in the back said, "It doesn't kill quickly. It follows you first." The passengers panicked. They begged the man in the back to explain what was out there. He hesitated before speaking. Years ago, people here told stories about a winter hunter, a creature that copied human steps. It followed travelers by matching their footprints until it got close enough. Then it took their faces. Hannah shivered. "But that's just a story, right?" The man didn't answer. The woman beside Hannah said, "We shouldn't stay here. We need to walk to the next town." Hannah shook her head. "We don't know where it went." Another bang hit the back of the bus. Everyone turned. The creature stood outside the rear window, its tall frame barely visible through the snow. Its face looked stretched, like someone had pulled skin too tightly over a skull. Its mouth hung open as if frozen in a silent scream. The man in the back said, "Don't make a noise." A passenger in the middle seat dropped his phone. The sound echoed inside the bus. The creature snapped its head toward the sound instantly. It started walking toward the side door. Slow, heavy, each step deeper than a human footprint. The door rattled. The creature pulled at the handle. Hannah grabbed the emergency hammer. "What are you doing?" The man in the back whispered. "I'm not waiting here," she said. She smashed the window and jumped into the snow. The cold cut into her like knives. 2 passengers followed her. The man in the back shouted, "Don't separate!" It tracks one at a time. But Hannah ran. Behind her, she heard the creature tearing into the bus, and then she saw something worse. Her own footprints in the snow. They led away from her, and then kept going, as if someone or something was walking in her steps just seconds behind. Hannah ran into the forest. The trees were tall and black against the white ground. Snow swallowed all sound, making the world too quiet. She stopped to catch her breath, trying to calm her shaking hands. The footprints behind her still followed the exact same pattern. Same spacing, same depth. But she was standing still now. The footprints kept coming. One step, then another, then another. Someone was walking in her path, but she saw no one. Hannah ducked behind a fallen log. The footsteps stopped inches from where she had been standing. She held her breath. Then a shadow rose from the snow. The creature, its long arms dragged on the ground. Its empty face seemed to twist toward her, even though it had no real eyes. It sniffed the air, sensing warmth. Hannah stayed silent. A branch cracked somewhere deeper in the woods. A second shape moved in the distance. This one smaller, and then a third. Hannah realized the truth. There wasn't just one. Multiple sets of footprints appeared around the trees. The winter hunters circled silently, waiting for one mistake. Hannah crawled slowly until she reached an old ranger cabin. The door was half buried in snow. She forced it open and slipped inside. The place was dark, filled with broken furniture and old maps. Hannah found a flare gun in a drawer. Outside, the footsteps gathered. 10, maybe more. Their shadows stretched across the windows like claws. A low scraping sound began. They were sharpening their fingers on the wood. Preparing, Hannah aimed the flare at the door. If they come in, I fire. But something moved behind her. The man from the bus. He stepped out of the corner, pale, shaking. You shouldn't have left the bus, he said. Hannah frowned. How did you get here? I didn't see your footprints. He smiled slowly. You weren't supposed to. His skin cracked around his mouth. His eyes turned empty, like the creature's. Hannah stepped back. You're not human, she whispered. He nodded once. I followed your steps first. His body stretched unnaturally, bones cracking like ice. Hannah fired the flare at him. The light burned bright, forcing him back. His skin sizzled like thin ice under fire. He screamed, and the other creatures outside reacted instantly. Rushing toward the cabin, Hannah reloaded the flare gun and shot the window. Creating a burst of light that slowed them, she kicked open the back door and ran toward the mountain trail. Behind her, dozens of footprints appeared in the snow, chasing her like a wave. The hunters moved fast, too fast. Hannah reached a wooden bridge over a frozen river. The ice below looked thin, cracking under the weight of falling snow. She turned to face the creatures. Her breath shook in the air. They stood at the edge of the bridge, staring silently. Hannah shouted, You follow my steps, right? The largest creature tilted its head. Hannah stomped hard on the bridge, breaking the top layer of ice. Then she stepped backward onto the river. The creatures followed her footprints onto the ice. One by one, the ice cracked deeper. Hannah stepped farther. The ice screamed under pressure. The creatures copied every step without thinking. Hannah took one final step. The ice shattered completely. The frozen river opened beneath them. The creatures plunged into the dark water. Their long arms thrashed as the current pulled them under. Hannah crawled onto the bank, exhausted. The screams faded. Silence returned. By sunrise, search teams found Hannah half frozen but alive. They found the bus too, but there were no bodies. Only broken windows and deep footprints leading into the woods. Dozens of them. Fresh. Hannah left Silver Pine and never returned. But sometimes in winter when snow covers everything, she swears she hears something behind her. Footsteps, falling exactly where hers fall, matching her step. For step,